Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to this next part of the jazz series. I hope that you're all doing well. Thank you so much for coming back to check out the lesson. For today, what we're going to be taking a look at is now that we have all of our shell voicings down, we're going to take a look at adding one more note into these standard shell voicings that we already know, and we're basically going to get four-part chords. And most of the notes that we're going to look at adding in are going to be extensions, so like our 9s, 11s, 13s. So we're going to look kind of at a really easy way to actually add these extensions in and get some fuller sounding chords. And this is also kind of this idea is it's really quick and easy, like I'd said, to start adding in extensions and kind of getting the sound of some of these bigger chords in our ears. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot of fun stuff to look at today. Yeah, let's get into it and start taking a look at adding one more note in. Alrighty guys, so let's start with our shape 1 chords, alright? So first shape we're going to take a look at is just C major 7. Okay, obviously you already know this shape well. Okay, turn this up just a second here. Okay, cool, so obviously we already know this shape here. Shape 1 just from a C major 7. So let's just take a look. First of all, let's just add just the 5th into this, okay? So this isn't technically an extension, but let's just add it in at any rate. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ring where my middle is, exchange that, put my pinky on the 9th fret of the G, and then put my middle on the 8th fret of the B. And some of you guys might recognize this from like just a standard drop 3 voicing, which it is, but for right now I'm more just thinking of it as this standard shell voicing and then just adding a note onto the top of it. Okay, so that's just adding in the 5th. Okay, now let's take a look at adding in the flat 5 or the sharp 4 chord. Or excuse me, just the sharp 4 note, I should say. Okay, and this is commonly seen like as a major 7 sharp 11 chord. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put my middle where my pointer finger is and put my pointer finger on the 7th fret of the B. Okay, so a pretty interesting, really kind of pretty sound. Okay, so that's the sharp 4. That's an extension you can add in like on a, on a major 2-5-1 when you get to the 1 chord. Try playing this chord instead and it makes for really nice sound. And the reason we don't add just the regular 11 or the 4 in is because it really clashes with the rest of the chord. So we're never really going to add just a standard, a natural 4 in like a major 7 chord. It's always usually going to be that sharp 4 or sharp 11. Okay, so that's a first extension for a major 7 chord. You can add in. Okay, so your standard major 7, our shell voicing. There's our sharp 11. There's our 5th. Okay, now let's add the 13 in. This is a fantastic sound. Okay, now I'm playing this major 7 voicing as we've kind of been playing it all along. Pointer, middle, ring. And then what I'm doing is I'm adding my pinky up on the 10th fret of the B string. Okay, and that gives us like a C major 13 chord. Okay, let's move it down to B flat major 13, A flat major 13, G major 13. Okay, so really pretty sound. And yeah, for all these extensions too, all of them are movable. So you can move all these to any root note and it'll still work. So now you can experiment with that. There's a 5th, 13, 5, sharp 11. So there's some of those extensions and they all sound really nice. And you can try to add these in with our other chords that we had taken a look at too, like let's say how we had taken a look at replacing the 3rd with the 2nd. Okay, so now my pointer is on 7 of the G, ring 9 of the D, and then middle still on the C root. Okay, now let's add an extension, and let's add the 13 in. Okay, and we get obviously a really pretty sounding chord. Okay, so we're basically doing like a sus2 chord here with that 13 still added on. Okay, now let's take this regular 13, and last week we had kind of taken a look at, we'd taken a look at our 6 chord, so we'll play a C major 6. Okay, now take our ring off and do that bar with the pointer finger. Okay, we've taken a look at that shape. Okay, now let's go from a C major 13 to this chord, but now add the 5th in up here, once again on the 8th fret of the B string. Okay, so now I've got this like a 6-9 chord. So middle on the C note, pointer doing a bar at 7 of the D and the G, and then the ring on the 8 of the B. Okay, now those sound really nice to go back and forth between. Down to B flat, A flat, okay, so obviously you can hear that that sounds really, really good to go back and forth between. Okay, last extension we'll take a look at is adding in the 9, so making this a C major 9 chord. And I'm actually going to add this up on the high E string at the 10th fret. Okay, now the way I'm picking that is the low note with the pick, the 2 middle notes with the middle, and then the ring, and then the highest note with the pinky. Okay, down to an F. F major 9. C major 9. Okay, so just going through all the extensions really quick. Here's our sharp 11, our 5th, 13, and then our 9. Okay, so those are all the extensions you can add in for like that major 7 chord, and don't forget that you can still, like we had taken a look at, you can still like make this like a sus2 or make it a 6 chord. And add those extensions in. So like here I'm going to do this as a C major 6, and then I'm going to add the 9 in on the high E string. Take it up to F, down to B flat. Okay, and that makes for a really cool voicing, so you can experiment with that and just kind of see what happens. But all of those little extensions that we've taken a look at there are going to work like as the 1 chord when you're in a major 2-5-1 progression. So those will all work just fine, or even on the 4 chord, those will still all work. So like say we're in C, the 4 chord would be in F major, so those are all still going to work for the 4 chord. So yeah, let's now move on to a minor 7 chord. Alright guys, so the minor 7 chord. We're gonna let's just stay in C for a second here, just for simplicity's sake. So we'll just stay from a C root note, again just shape 1 for right now, from an E string root. Okay, so let's just take C minor 7. Okay, so there's our C minor 7. Let's now just add the 5th in, basically as we had done on the C major 7. And the 5th is actually going to be in the exact same spot on the 8th fret of the B. So now I'm going to play this with my middle and then do a 3-string bar with my ring finger on the D, G, and then B, and that's going to be all at the 8th fret. That's going to give us still just a C minor 7. But now we're adding that 5th in. Okay, and you can move this around, to F minor 7, G minor 7. Okay, just a little different quality with that 5th as a melody note, basically as the highest note that we're hearing. Okay, now if you see like minor 7 flat 5, now that that 5th is up here, we can just flat that. So now I'm going to be playing from lowest note, so starting on the E string, to the highest note. Here's my finger arrangement. Got middle, ring, pinky, playing the C minor 7, and I'm just adding my pointer finger, that flat 5 note, and it's going to be on the 7th fret of the B string. So that's a C minor 7 flat 5 shape right there. And wherever we put that here, it's going to be B minor 7 flat 5, A minor 7 flat 5. So that shape is movable. Okay, so that's adding the 5th in. Now let's take a look at adding the 11 in, or the 4, giving us like a C minor 11 sound, which is really a nice sound. This basically works anytime you see a minor chord. You can try to substitute this in and see how it sounds, but the notes will at least technically work. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. Again, from low E string, continuing up, it's going to be middle, ring, pinky, and then pointer is going to be at the 6th fret of the B string. Okay, so here's the sound we're going to get. Okay, really pretty sound. And that's adding our 11 in. Okay, let's take it up to F, down to G, and then now I'm just at the 5th again. That time I just played all the notes as a bar with the pointer finger. Okay, this isn't technically an extension, but I want to show you guys this anyways because it's a cool movement. Let's play the C minor 7 as a bar just with the pointer finger. So I'm not playing the A or the high E, just the low E, D, G, and then B, but I'm playing it once again, picking the lowest note with the pick, and then the other 3 I'm grabbing with my middle, ring, and then pinky. Okay, now check this out. I can add the minor 7 with my pinky on the 11th fret of the B string. That sounds really cool, and that'll work for every minor 7 chord. So F minor 7, G minor 7. Okay, so that's obviously really pretty. Get some really nice sounds with that. And then, you know, you guys can experiment with those, you know, adding those notes in. So like F minor 11, adding the 5th, 7th. You can hear there we get some melody movement. I'm going to go down here to an F minor 7, add that 7 with my pinky. Just go to a standard G minor 7 and finish off with a C minor 11. So you can hear what a cool melody that gives. So my melody's doing this, which obviously is really pretty. So you can experiment with that. That's a, you know, a really fun chord to mess around with, that minor 7, because all these tensions sound so nice. Well, actually there's only one tension. The rest is just adding the 5th and then the 7th in still. Okay, so some really nice tones there. Okay, now let's say this is the 2 chord. So let's say we're doing like the 2 chord, you know, it's in a standard major 2-5-1. Okay, we can add our Dorian note, our 13, right here. Again, I'm doing it as the bar here. I'm on the 10th fret of the B string with my ring finger. Okay, so that would be like our like a minor, just a standard minor 7, but then we're adding that 13 or the 6 in, depending on what way you look at it. So, okay, just kind of finishing resolving that down. Just finishing out the 2-5-1. You can resolve that up to the minor 7 if you want. That can sound really cool. So lots of options there. Okay, now adding the 9 in. So turning this into a minor 9 chord. I'm going to add the 9, 10th fret on the high E with my pinky. Down to F. Now if I take my pinky off, I'm doing a full bar with my pointer finger, and I'll just have a high root note there. Okay, so that's a really pretty sound. And again, I'm grabbing the lowest note with the pick, 2 middle notes with the middle, and then the ring, and then the highest note with the pinky. So that's our minor 9 sound. So lots of fun there, and I should mention an extension is anything after a 7 chord, okay? So for instance, we had a standard triad is just 1, 3, 5 as we had taken a look at. Then if we add another third on top of that, we get to the 7. So our major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, all those. If we stack another third on top of that, that's where we start getting our extensions. So technically all of our extension notes are a 9, an 11, and a 13, which technically a 9 is the same as a 2, 11 is the same as a 4, and a 13 is the same thing as a 6. Okay, so those are kind of our extensions that we can add in. So that's why we call them extensions, because 7th chords, are just standard 7th chords, and everything we add in after that is basically an extension. So that's just a quick explanation of extensions. There's obviously a lot more to explore with those and to dive into, but for today we're not going to worry too much about the theory. Again, I just kind of want you guys to have some ways to play these extensions so you can grab them and kind of know what you're doing, and then just experiment playing through progressions and experiment adding these these tensions in, and seeing what kind of sounds you end up with, what you like, what you don't, and yeah, see what happens with that. So at any rate, now let's move on to a dominant 7 chord. Alright guys, once again we're just going to start from a C root note. So taking a C dominant 7 shape here, just the shell voicing. Okay, let's change this around a little bit. Let's take our ring finger off and put our pinky there instead. Let's put our ring finger on the B string at the 8th fret. And that'll just add our 5th in. Okay, now the dominant 7 chord is oftentimes where we see a lot of our altered tones. So a flat 5, sharp 5, flat 9, or a sharp 9. Again, if you don't understand a lot of the theory of that, it's just because of how the tones lead to the next tone to the next chord, okay? So for instance, let's just say we got a C dominant 7 here. Here's our 5th on top. I'm going to move that up 1 fret. So my pinky is now going to be at 9 of the B. My ring is going to be at 9 of the G. Okay, now the reason I'm going to do that is because this G sharp note right here, I'm going to resolve this to F major 7. This G sharp note is technically closer to this A right here than the G was. Okay, here's the G sharp. So you can kind of hear how strongly that pulls us in to the next tone of the next chord. So that's a lot of times why we have those altered notes like the sharp 9, flat 9, all that good stuff. So again, there's a lot more to it than that, and that's just kind of a really quick explanation. So here's our 5th. So you can sharp it. Okay, let's go back down to standard shape right here. Okay, now we're going to change a fingering around where our pointer is, put our middle finger there instead. Now put our ring on the 8th fret of the D, and then our pointer 7th fret of the B. We're going to get a flat 5 there. And flat 5. So that's altering our 5th there, so adding our 5th, or a sharp 5 or a flat 5, which you'll very commonly see comping through a real book or something like that. So that's our 5th. Okay, now let's add the 13 into this. So now we're going to have a C dominant 13 chord, okay? So put our ring where our pinky is, and then put our pinky on the 10th fret of the B. Down to F. Okay, so that's a dominant 13 chord. Sounds really, really cool. Okay, now we're going to add our 9, so a C9 or C dominant 9, in on the high E string with the pinky 10th fret. And then once again, if we see like we need a flat 9, you just move it 1 fret towards the headstock with the pinky, or a sharp 9. I don't really play the sharp 9 from right here because it's such a strong clash with that E note. The flat 9 works a lot better from there. Okay, so that's kind of how I'd play that. And you know, if you need to, you can throw that sharp 9 in. There's some different ways. It's a little beyond the scope of today's lesson. But that, at any rate, is how you throw that 9 into the chord. Okay, so that is basically our, that's kind of all of the extensions from like a dominant 7 chord. Okay, so we got the 13, the 5, flat 5, sharp 5. Those are kind of all our altered tones. The 13, obviously. Then we've got the 9 up here, flat 9, sharp 9 if we really need it. Again, I don't play that voicing a ton just because it clashes so much. But yeah, that's kind of all of our extensions from a dominant 7 chord. So you guys can experiment with those. I'm going to wait to next week to start adding in extensions with our shape 2 voicings, just because I don't want this lesson to get too much longer. But now let's just take a look at how to play just a couple quick examples using these extensions. Alright guys, so for right now, we're not going to be able to voice lead the best, obviously, just because we only have these 1 shapes. Again, I just kind of want to give you guys these shapes just for this week so you can experiment with them and get comfortable with kind of the sound of some of these extensions and using them in your playing and kind of, you know, getting the sound in your ears a little bit. So basically, we're just going to take a 2-5-1 just in C for right now. So D minor 7, G dominant 7, C major 7. Okay. Just take a D minor 7, and these are all going to be shape 1. D minor 7. I'm going to add that 11th into it right here at the 8th fret of the B. I'm going to go down to a G dominant 13. Okay. Then up to a C major 7 with that sharp 11 there. Okay. I went up to a C major 13, okay? Okay, right now what I'm going to do is do like a D minor 7, but I'm going to add that pinky note on top there, okay? So I'm adding that 7th in with the pinky at the 13th fret, doing a bar all the way across with my pointer. So here's a D minor 7. Okay, now I'm going to go up to a G dominant 7 all the way up here at the 15th fret and then put a flat 5 in there. Okay, now I'm going to go down to a C major 13. Again, you know, I'm not properly voice leading all these. Next week when we start taking a look at shape 2 shell voicings, and adding tensions in with those, and you know, even like the 5th and the 7th and stuff, then we'll start voice leading through a couple of 2-5-1s and stuff like that. And get comfortable doing that. You know, for right now, again, I just want to give you guys some of these shapes with some tensions in them, just to kind of get the sound in your ears. And then next week we'll kind of continue on with starting to voice lead some of these, adding in our shape 2 voicings. But for right now, yeah, just get really comfortable with these voicings. You know, experiment adding them in. Even, you know, doing a little vamp like let's take B minor here. Add the 5th in. The 11, 7th up here with our pinky, okay, the 9 up here with my ring or my pinky. So you can just kind of vamp on that and get comfortable with those. Let's go up to like D major 7, 13 in this case, down to the 5th, up to the 9 with the pinky. down to the sharp 11. So you guys can just kind of vamp back and forth on those and kind of even from there just get the sound of these tensions in your ears a little bit and get comfortable with them. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson and had fun with some of these tensions. Again, next week we will be taking a look at adding these in with our shape 2 voicings and then getting some really great voice leading with these tensions, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some really nice sounding progressions as we start adding these tensions in with 2-5-1s, and we're going to get some really hip sounds to work with. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson, had fun checking out some of these tensions and adding one more note in with these chords. Again, now we're basically working with 4-note chords. And again, you don't have to do this on every single chord. For instance, before we end this lesson, let's take just standard shell voicings: D minor 7 shape 1, G dominant 7 shape 2, C major 7 shape 1, but now I ended with a 13 up there. Okay, so you can just even experiment just doing that and see what you end up with. Even like for this first chord, the D minor 7, let's add that 11 in there. And then the other two chords will just be standard, which is kind of cool because in this 11, which is a G note, moves down to this F, which is right here on the G string. Makes for a really nice movement. So even with these tensions, just kind of notice the next note that they're going to be moving to, where all the notes are going to be moving to, and a lot of times that'll kind of help you understand, you know, what the reasoning for adding these tensions in. You know, it's all about what chord is coming next, how the tones are going to be moving, and what kind of sounds they're creating as they're leading from one to the next. So yeah, have a great week, everyone. Once again, I hope you've all been enjoying the lessons, and I will plan on seeing you guys back here next week. Thanks so much.